Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Akio. This is Friday, May 16th. You know what I mean? And we are activating faith over fear. I've pre recorded this a little earlier because I have a few things to do later on this Friday night. But I wanted to touch bases with you guys to share with you another story, another testimony as to why you cannot give up, why you should continue to pursue whatever your heart desire. And if you don't know, eventually it'll be revealed. Um, Today I'm going to talk about on one incident that had happened a little after. It was like I want to say 2015. I was in a long-term relationship, and this relationship lasted 5 plus years. I want to say like at least 7 years, right? And during the Baltimore uprising, that's when stuff was already crumbling. So a lot of the things that I was out there, I was filming, I was taking photos. A lot of stuff I don't remember. When you're actually going through trauma, or when you feel like you're going through heartbreak, or when you go through something traumatic, sometimes your memory is very, very like a blur. So in this incident, I remember me and my past partner, we was deciding whether we was going to stay together, and she was saying like, yeah, we're going to continue to work on this. And she had a change of heart. And I was, I was shattered. I didn't know what I was doing, you know, started, my appetite started, declining, all the things, right, that we go through. And I remember I had to pivot because her and I were living with each other at the time. And I was in a situation where we had moved a lot. Like I had two townhomes that, she stayed with me. And it was another moment where we were, we decided to move with one of her relatives, supposedly to save money to try to, like, start a family and so on and so forth. Glad that didn't work out, right? Because look at what happened. So in the timing that we were about to separate, we were staying with one of her relatives. And so she was going to be good. She had a safety net. Me, on the other hand, my mother was gone. You know, she transitioned. I had nothing to actually look towards, and the original plan was for her and I to kind of like get our stuff together, get out of the place that we were staying at, which was her relative spot, and kind of like meet in the middle. Right. She said breaking up would better the relationship. And I was just like, okay, whatever. I'm down for whatever. But then the stuff started not adding up. And over couple of weeks, I was just trying to figure out what place I could stay. And I remember my uncle, I was meeting up with my uncle at the time, and he would give me some money, and he would tell me like, hey, don't spend it on that girl. Whatever you do, don't spend it on that girl. I say, Uncle, tell me what she talking about, man. I ain't gonna do that. But our elders, they have a intuition. And I remember it was like around the time when that weekend I decided to stay. And I was editing videos, and each and every week that after we made the decision, or she made the decision that she didn't want no longer want to be with me, she was out and about over the weekend, and she would come back on the Sunday night to only get ready for the work week. And she did that for several weeks. Crushed, y'all. Crushed, right? And on this particular weekend, she stayed. She stayed at the spot, and she was just like, "Yeah, my nails not done. I feel like I look a mess, and I'm just going to hang tight." And I was like, "Wow, this is weird. This is awkward because I'm used to you not being here, right?" And I remember I started to take the money that my uncle had just gave me. I started to get at her for her to get whatever she wanted to get done. But something told me, "No, keep this money in your pocket." I kept hearing my uncle over and over in my head, like, "Don't give that money to that girl," right? So then that weekend I was looking for a place, and on that Monday I had to go to the spot called the Baltimore Apartments. That's in Baltimore. It's like in the Charles Village area. So I had went to work as scheduled, and I had used my PTO to leave early. And when I left early, I had decided on this day that I wanted to wear a shirt and tie because I mean I'm tatted up, visiting the place that I wanted to stay at. I didn't want them to like judge me. So and it was in the Charles Village area, which is not that far from Johns Hopkins University, the school. So I just was like, let me wear shirt and tie and all that. So I left work early, caught the shuttle to the actual apartments. And this apartment, Baltimore Rain Apartments, this lady, she was very nice. She said, okay, you check out. You got, you work at Hopkins, and that was like, you get a discount, if you was a tenant or if you decided to stay there, because she had students there, she had teachers there, professors there, people from all over the country that would kind of visit and go um, to that apartments first. Or she even also had like places where people didn't even have to have a lease. You can just rent a room, right? These were all students. So I'm talking with her. I went through the interview process, passed everything I needed to pass, and she said, "Hey, well, look, over the weekend, I'm going to do a background check, and I'm going to give you a call back. And if in the meantime, between time, just have your security deposit ready, and we can go from there, and you can move in." I was like, "Yes." Now, keep in mind, I ain't share this. You know what I mean? With the person who I used to be with, I ain't share this with my ex, and and that's important. I don't want to skip over that. Sometimes when you're about to do something, sometimes when God is about to bless you, you cannot necessarily reveal what's about to happen or what's going on, because sometimes the enemy is hearing that and he will try to disrupt your plans. So anyway, time passed and I got a call back. And when I got a call back from her, she said, "Hey, everything checked out, but and her voice didn't sound, the lady, the owner, the landlord, her voice didn't sound as pleasant as it did before when I met her in person." And she said, "Hey, I just want to let you know, and I did a background check, and a lot of your," she said, "a lot of your she basically gave me the whole rundown of what I'd done, and she no longer looked at me as a Hawkins employee anymore. She looked at me as a former criminal, and I was just so embarrassed, man. I was like, dang." She said, "But hey, if you can come by, hey, we're gonna have to, and even though I know that you're a Hopkins employee, but now that discount will not work. Now you're gonna have to pay the full deposit, and then you can move in. But come by, come to the office, and we'll discuss it." Now, keep in mind, y'all, I was just getting on my feet. I didn't have what she was asking for. She wanted me to pay 2 months rent, and I started to say, I'm about to just try to find another place. And I knew that I was going to go through that. Whereas my background at that time, it popped up. Before I was making strides to get my record expunged. This is before I was, able to even teach Baltimore City schools, because they're very strict too. So anyway, went there and I was talking with her. And keep in mind, this is around the Baltimore uprising, so it was still fresh. And I was talking with her, and I don't know what came over me, but the Holy Spirit must have came over me, because I was sharing with her my story, and she said, "Hey," she stopped me in the middle of me talking. She said, "Hey, listen, I just want to let you know, you seem like a good person. I remember you told me about your uncle and what you were going through with your ex. How much do you have?" And I was saying to myself, "I told you about my uncle. I told you about my aunt. When did I say that? And I only I had at the time was what I have. I had $450, because keep in mind, if you were a Hopkins employee, you can move in at 300. And she said, "Okay, great, that can work. If it was $50 less, then you wouldn't have been able to move in." And I remember my uncle, he gave me 50. That was the same 50 that he gave me. So what if I decided to give that money to my ex, of, just give it to her because I just felt like, she wanted to get her nails done. I would have been $50 less and not in a new place. I remember when she gave me the keys, I was just so like, what? I knew it was nothing but God, you know, because and look how God worked with my uncle, giving me what he gave me. And I remember when I got the place, I mean, I was very adamant about not saying anything. And I did the same strategy when I had got the new position at Hopkins University. When I was telling you guys in previous of the video, when I got the job at John Hopkins University, I was working both jobs, because first I was just going to leave them high and dry. I'm talking about Baja Fresh. If you look at a couple of videos back, I talk about that. I didn't leave the job high and dry, even though I should have. And I was collecting checks from both places, the Hopkins University and the job that was treating me shitty, that I was just like, yo, bump them. You know what I mean? And they didn't know my plans. Sometimes you can't tell individuals your plans, because sometimes those plans is only meant for you and God, you and the creator, you and your own. You can't do it because sometimes people jeopardize it, right? So it got to the point where I got so consumed of not telling anybody my plans, I forgot to tell her that I had the place. And I had the place, I could have moved in. This was like 2 weeks. I could have been moved in 2 weeks ago. And I remember I showed her, oh yeah, I got the place. And I showed her the keys. And I would never forget the look on her face. And I was just like, hey, so did you find a place? And she didn't find a place. She wasn't looking for a place. Because you know why? Because she was good where she was at. She just wanted me out. And I say all this to say that the weird thing about this thing, this whole story is about a couple of years prior, before I moved in two different townhomes that her and I had, we applied for the place that was next door to the Baltimore Rain Apartments, but we didn't get it because of my record. And despite it all, the lady was able to dismiss that by the grace of God and allow me to move in. But faith without works is dead. And I had to do again the work. That's what I always talk about. And I have to have faith. So I put the suit on. This is the second time I'm talking about a suit. It's like Superman, where he has the suit on and he takes the suit off and he just, it's a superhero. You know what I mean? Speaking of superheroes, before I get off here, this is the Medium Man joint that I have. I made this last year. This is a Carhartt. You know what I mean? You probably was wondering what Keo got on. He just got off work. Nah, this is the Medium Man Get Up. You know what I mean? And on the back is the comic book. But yeah, man, I just wanted to get that story to y'all. I'm about to get out of here. You know what I mean? I got a long day today, and I'm not going to be able to connect with you guys later on. So I just figured, let me just go ahead and get this video out the way. But thank you guys for tapping in. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and let me know if there's anything that I left open. I want to be able to cover all bases, you know what I'm saying? But I really appreciate y'all. And we're going to keep this thing going. All right. Catch y'all tomorrow on Saturday. And yeah, also be sure to vote for me for Baltimore's Best Mag. The link will be in the description. Been nominated twice, so definitely tap in. And I have a drop that I'm definitely thinking about releasing on Wednesday. I'll give you the update about that probably on Tuesday night if all goes well. But again, thank y'all again. Appreciate y'all. Peace, peace, peace. Yeah. What was that, man? All right, y'all.